Hmm. Well, uno memento. Uh, por favor. This. When clicked on. Crazy, man. Crazy. Let me close this. Slideshow from current slide. It's dead time. Let's try again.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
You're in violation of secure communication procedures, Commodore.
So we just went ahead and fixed the glitch.
There is no America. There is no democracy.
Our fifth objective, a new world order.
There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West.
Right-wing conspiracy.
What do you call it when the assassins accuse the assassin?
A new world order.
Thank you for plugging in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
Well, just a second there, Professor. We fixed the glitch.
I'm your host, Professor Thomas Henry Horan.
He reads everything.
Hello there, you lucky devils. You better bet your bippies he reads everything. Have you people been paying any attention to what has been going on around here lately? I've been so busy making episodes of the show, I haven't been paying that much attention. I've just been dumping headlines on my Facebook feed. Think about what's been going on. Don't take sides. Think about what's been going on. First, you get Billary who asked people she went to high school with who hated JFK and was glad he was dead. Okay? She walked out of the Republican National Convention of 1968 because they nominated Nixon for president, and she called him everything but a commie. He was just way too far to the left. Richard Nixon was way too far to the left for Billary. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget that. Devout Methodist. Ostentatious about it. Her husband has said, "You have no idea how religious my wife is." This broad ate how many buckets of her own shit, let alone everybody else's shit, but would not remember. She was no gay marriage, no gay marriage, no gay marriage. Remember? Year after year, election after election, no gay marriage. And she lost. First, she loses to who? Not only a black candidate, but a black candidate named Barack Obama. Not his secret name that came out after the election. The poster's Obama. She lost to him. So, What does she do? She eats one more bucket of her own shit. And okay, gay marriage is cool, baby, equality for all, blah, blah, blah. And what does she get for that? What does she get for after all those years of no, no, no? And she finally says, okay, what does she get for it? She gets one more bucket rammed right straight down her throat. Donald Trump. She loses to Trump. Well, speak of the devil. Have you? Okay, so he's president for 4 years. I just, you hear these legends of Andrew Jackson, Teddy Roosevelt, Harry Truman, just presidents who let it all hang out. You hear the legends and you hear, people were such a ruckus, and then they end up on Mount Rushmore, right? So you hear, I would vaguely hear, I never watched television. I had seen him on Letterman, that was it. So, but Letterman would never come right out and say, well, I think Trump would be a terrible, he never campaigned against Trump, I don't think. But you know what I mean. I didn't listen to the debates. I might have listened to one debate. I think I did. I think there was one debate. Because I must have been in the hospital. Or just out of the hospital. I did watch one debate. And my mouth was just hanging open. But he gets elected, and he's, looking back on it, I'm trying to find where people, put your finger on the thing he did that, so like it seemed like he did a pretty decent job, compared to the, what? Listen, kids. It's Jimmy Carter all over again. Everybody telling you how smart the president, he's smart as a whip. Oh, he's a nuclear engineer. He's this, he's that. He's the smartest guy. And then the next thing you're hearing is UFOs and giant swimming rabbits and lusting after women in his heart. Is that where, well, we know where Jimmy's heart is at. Was that? Is he still alive? He's not still alive. What are they keeping it alive for? Him and Walt Disney are going to take over the earth? The smartest president ever? Jimmy Carter, he's dead, right? Well, anyway, this guy Trump gets elected president. Didn't seem like he's doing that bad of a job, except by the time he was done, the whole world was shut. Well, but that didn't know. That all started under his watch. He signed all those stimulus bills. He asked for more. Biden been bragging about this $3.4 trillion stimulus package. Trump asked for $5. I'm not sticking up for the guy. I'm just saying. Is an American politician? He's 100 years old. It's like the curse of the Bambino. Maybe. Are there any practicing druids in the audience today? Maybe you saw the Northern Lights, right? When has that ever been a good omen of anything? I can think of a lot of bad things that have happened after I've seen Aurora Borealis. I'm looking at it, I'm catching up on the news. So, Trump has been accused of being everything but a white man ever since. They have dragged him in and out of courtroom after courtroom. He has set fire to courtroom after courtroom, and they keep doing. Why? So now he's on. This is a criminal trial in front of a superior court judge. And we are hearing daily testimony about blackmail being paid to a blackmaileuse. Not a blackmailer, a blackmaileuse, named, hold on to your tinfoil hats, Stormy Daniels, a professional gobbler, and proud of it. In fact, that's her claim to fame. This is the root of the matter, if you like. She does it for that money thing, okay? This is what this broad is all about. That's not what the trial is about. The paying off of the hush money, and boy, Don, you sure, I'll tell you what, I would invite him to Thanksgiving dinner any day, but I would not loan him a penny unless I had it to just throw away. I'll tell you what, I would invest, if I had $1 million to flush down the toilet, I would invest it in Donald Trump before I would invest it in oil. I'm not joking. I am not joking. He's a better investment than oil. But he he bucks like a son of a gun. Look out. He's Charles. He had a reality. He had how many reality shows where he's running this criminal family, this corporate family. You're fired. You're out. That was the show that Charlie was supposed to have. That was the show they were developing for Charlie before he was called to a higher purpose. But we'll come back to that in a minute. My point is, Trump is a child of the Manson family. Think about the influences. They're a little bit older than I am. They're true baby boomers. My parents were World War II generation, so we have a lot in common. But I wasn't around for the pop culture stuff. My pop culture stuff was puffin stuff. And the Banana Splits. And Scooby-Doo. And Mad fucking Magazine. Mad Magazine. My father would he would buy the Mad when it came out every month and have me read it to him, and we'd laugh about it. He loved it. Everything is a hustle. Well, this guy's on trial because, well, first of all, he's on trial because he's accused of a completely new and made up crime. And everybody knows it. Everybody admits this is a new made-up crime because they are saying not the affairs occur with the blackmailers. Are you with me? See, the Cajuns don't call it Cajun French. They call it voler. Parlez-vous voler? Voler, I think it's voler. They call it voler. No, that's not what he's accused of paying the blackmail money, which is a felony. It's a crime to enable crime. It's a crime to pay blackmail. if I don't know. If you needed one more brick to carry on that load, there it is. It's a crime to be paying the blackmail, Joe. I'm not saying let's go, Brandon. What I'm saying is Trump is on trial for paying blackmail, not because I'm looking for the Latin phrase. This is one that gets misused all the time. Res justi. That's not the res justi of this case. That is not the matter of justice in this case. The matter of justice is this brand new made-up crime that they are saying that paying this blackmail money constituted election interference. Guess who publicized the story in the first place? No, that's not the res justi. The res justi is the election interference. However, all we're hearing about is that's all we're hearing about. And you'd think the prosecution's star witness is loose, but it's not. It's not. The prostitution's star witness is another Charles Manson, a guy who wouldn't know how to tell the truth if you put a noose around his neck in Jeffrey Epstein's cell. He wouldn't know how to tell the truth. He's the star witness. There is no corroborating evidence for any of the things that Michael Cohen is saying. He's a convicted perjurist, and he is not, and get this, he's not just an attorney who may possibly be facing disbarment proceedings on the basis of his fresh conviction after confessing to perjury in the original hush money blackmail payment case. And all of this is the evidence that Trump is guilty of election interference. I thought you people said he lost. I thought you people said we followed the science and Trump lost. Well, then how can he have interfered with the election? I'm sure there's a legal answer that explains it all quite clearly. But that's not even the point. This whole thing, he's Manson, he's Charles Manson. He sets fire to the judge's robes. And he's right. It's all bullshit. And he's in the courtroom. This is bullshit. And it is bullshit. It's a made-up crime. The res justi is not the already adjudicated horse shit over the hush money. Mr. President, if you can't do the time, then don't do the crime. All right? She cashed the check. She spent the money. Have you seen her lips? How much do you think those cost? And his poll numbers are skyrocketing. If I had to pick between Trump and Biden, and I have to, you notice they canceled the primaries, right? I can see the Republican Party throwing in the towel. This juggernaut will not be stopped. It's over. 2024 is over. You might as well throw Hillary out there again. She's not touching this one with a 10-foot pole. He's coming back. This is who? Teddy Roosevelt? Teddy Roosevelt came back and served a second term. Because the previous president, the very left-wing McKinley, suddenly he was walking past a grassy knoll, and next thing you know, Teddy Roosevelt's president, right? Isn't that's how Teddy got to be? That's when McKinley got shot, right? The X-ray machine. If we found the bullet, the bad news is we're not going to do anything about it. Teddy Roosevelt was president. Remember that? Well, here's something that Trump accomplished. Three Supreme Court justices, 3 appointed in one term, and then whoever wins in November will be appointing another one. Trump may and who knows what happens after that. He might appoint 5 Supreme Court justices before he's finished. Already appointed 3. And you know who the Democrats really blame. Hillary. Way to go, Hillary. Way to go, Hillary. 3 Supreme Court justices? And they act all surprised. This is the child who not only walked out of the 68 Republican convention because they nominated the pinko commie Richard Nixon instead of Goldwater. Not only her, but the junior high school girl who hated Kennedy. And they act so surprised. And all she's been able to do, well, garbage in, garbage out. She has eaten bucket after bucket after bucket of her own shit. She didn't even get credit for Hillary Care. It's still known as Obamacare. You notice she hasn't tried to steal the credit for that. You know have you noticed she won't talk about. She doesn't want credit for that. That's Obamacare. They try to bring up the Health Care Act. Do you mean Obamacare? Oh. My point is this. What's going on? Is it relative? I'm thinking of the Reagan campaign. It was Quaaludes and red, white, and blue cupcakes, right? That was the whole Reagan campaign. Everything's groovy, man. Everything is fucking groovy here in the red, the white, and the blue. We're cleaning up the environment. The economy's getting back on its feet. Everybody wants a job. Everybody's got a job. The Russians crawling back home with their tails between their legs. Mwah, America. That was his whole campaign. It wasn't down with anything. I'm talking about his first campaign. Running against Jimmy Carter. Trump has really, it seems, maybe it's all relative. It seems like he's been a little more laid back. Well, he's already got it in the bag. I mean, I haven't met one person. Who has not loudly expressed their of any race, creed, or color, who has not loudly enthused their support. He's Mansoning it up in the courtroom today. And we're all... When's the election? Because it's either him or 4 more years of the mummy's curse. You pick. It's our pick. Look at who is shitting their pants. Think about how much they have to lose. They can't sweat it out for 4 years. Look at who's sitting back, sweating, but leaning back and sweating. And look who's running around like chickens with their heads cut off. Oh, I didn't know you were listening. Where was I? So, Here's how I'm gonna do a lot more of this from now on, and less. I'm not gonna try to hell with premium live streams. I'm sick of it. Premium episodes will be recorded, and they'll be a little. They need to make a little more sense anyway. That's hard to do live, and they will be uploaded at least more than one a week. At least one a week. At least a couple of hours worth a week. And then I'll pregame them on YouTube, and I'll just come on and do this. And then you've got Diddy, who is another Charles Manson. Diddy is everything Charles Manson was supposed to be. And you know who Diddy's parents were, right? Think about it. Think about it. Oh, so I was talking about Doc Hub, this extra channel you can get on if you got Amazon Prime Video, which comes with Amazon Prime. And it's got some good documentaries. They are very Zionist and they are very commie, but some of them are pretty good. There's the one called Cold Blooded. It's not just about the Clutter family murder and the investigation, but also about Truman Capote and his experience and the impact of the book and everything. It's great. There are others. There's one, it's called, not No Survivors, it's called Don't Shoot, Hold Your Fire. It's called Hold Your Fire. It's about the first time a professional hostage negotiator helped defuse a hostage-taking armed robbery gone wrong. I think it was in Harlem or close to Harlem in the 70s. And they interviewed the surviving perpetrator. No, they interviewed the two surviving perpetrators. One got out of jail, the smart one, and the dumb one who shot the cop didn't. You had this black Charles Manson from the ghetto, who's a member of the Black Liberation Army, which they don't. This is a very commie documentary channel. They don't mention that the Black Liberation Army were a communist group and a KGB-backed group. They don't mention that. They just mention that they were beefing with the Nation of Islam and their militant wing. But this is all part of the real original Operation Chaos, started by the KGB. This is the KGB name for it, which was just to go deep underground and make contact with any dissenter groups and try to infiltrate them and try to give them all the support you can. In a free country with a free press, right to assemble, this should be a piece of cake. So the CIA and the FBI decided we needed a counter program. Well, how successful were the KGB and Chinese Communist Party, and at the same time, for a long time, the Communist International, who beefed with the Marxist-Leninists, Stalinists, okay, Trotsky and Communist International. There's a lot of infighting there. My point is this. The KGB didn't just put their guns under the mattress and go work at Taco Bell. They went freelance after the Cold War. The so-called CIA people, these people are all freelance now. Who do you think they work for? Back to Diddy. Muscled his way into a very large portion of the popular music and entertainment industries and created a culture that lured young kids, mostly black, into a life of glorified criminal activity and go to prison, where these privatized prisons are training them to be soldiers for the Diddy army. Look how far he got. Look how far they got with him. Now suddenly, Nexus 6 is being retired. Jeffrey Epstein's being retired. Ghislaine Maxwell being retired. Diddy being retired. Nexus 7 will be coming online as we speak. Look what Diddy was training his kids to do in B. Heard about that, right? What's my point? My point is, what's this Trump? It's not a kangaroo court, it's a three-ring circus. And it seems like the more they try to tear him down, right, the more he just surges, higher he surges in the polls. Even the Democrats admit he's got a 5-point lead at the moment. And he's on trial for his life. They don't really have much more ammunition left. Now, here's the thing. He did pay blackmail money to a blackmaileuse for illicit loose going on in cheap, gaudy Trump Tower hotel rooms. Next time you go to a hotel, don't think about who slept on those sheets before you did. There ain't enough bleach in the world. The Trump suite. And please, 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 before you feel sorry for the blackmaileuse and her lawyer, well, here's the punchline. Brace yourselves for this. This lawyer who has perjured himself in the trial that isn't the res justi, but which is nothing but the race. It's just been the talk of the whole second trial. This lawyer who is calling Donald Trump everything but a white man in this trial, who has admitted from stealing from Trump bank accounts to line his own pockets. This lawyer got involved in all of this when he was hired by Donald Trump, when Donald Trump decided to run for president of the United States of America. He was Trump's lawyer. And he's testifying against Trump in a way that Trump can't possibly. Dude, this judge who was appointed by Michelle Obama's dog walker is going to instruct it's going to be a directed verdict. The jury is instructed to return a verdict not guilty of jack shit. That's going to be the outcome of this trial. And he's going to win the presidential election, for better or worse. Nexus 7 will be coming online during Trump's second presidential term. What are they capable of exactly? Nexus 6 was born with Barack Obama, Donald Trump, me. I'm the last unit. Whatever spare parts I had, I'm the last Nexus 6. You've seen what we're capable of, what we're not capable of. You see what we tried to do. What is Nexus 7 going to do? Because if I didn't know any better, I would say this was Operation Chaos. Then I'd have to think about who's running it. Are the Russians running it? Are the Americans running it? Are the Chinese running it? Is this a natural stage in the evolution of societies? They descend into chaos and anarchy. Remember, write this down. The Bolsheviks did not start the Russian Revolution. They took advantage of the chaos and anarchy that resulted from the Russian Revolution. Don't forget that. don't forget that, well, they had agents all over this country. Where do you think those people went? Did they all retire to West Palm Beach, Florida? Where did they retire to? Nexus 6 has been retired. Nexus 7 is beginning to come online. Some of them are in the military. Some of them are in the State Department. Some of them are in the banking industry. Some of them are on Wall Street. Some of them are going into education at all levels. Nexus 6 was born with practically born with a gun in its hand. What was Nexus 6 born with? God damn it. Nexus 7 was born with an iPhone in its hand. Are you with me? Nexus 7 is connected, electronically connected to other Nexus 7 units already. They tend to screen out what you and I call the real world and live in the Nexus 7 matrix that they're building with the aid of the hardware, but they are the software. That is Nexus 7. What are they going to be capable of? Look what Diddy was capable of. Look what Trump is capable of. Look what he is capable of. Everything Charlie was supposed to be. He might have thought he was going to take over America, but he was supposed to be causing chaos and anarchy. He was supposed to be, chaos is a tool of anarchy. You must create anarchy all across America if you're going to take over America. It must be nationwide. It must be in the media. It must be in the police departments. It must be in the schools. It must be at McDonald's. It must be online. It must be everywhere. Anarchy and chaos must reign. And then a new order can come in. Our fifth objective, a new world order. Well, Nexus 6 has run its course. Well, that was Nexus 5. Nexus 5 laid the groundwork. Nexus 5 was born with a gun in its hand. Nexus 5 was born with a gun in its hand. Nexus 6 was born with what in its hand? Not a pager. Like my older brothers and sisters. Born with what in their hands? I want to say a can of hairspray. The Reagan kids. We were Reagan kids. We were Reagan kids. And Diddy was, how old is Diddy? Reagan kid. We were Reagan kids. Yeah, we were born with a gun in our hands. Something like that. Never mind. You're with me. You know what I mean. Now Nexus 7 is they're coming online. They're hitting legal adulthood. Some of them are in the military becoming super soldiers. Now these prisons owned by these private corporations that have been running this Harlem chaos, and it's like flowers in a garden. When the seedlings are coming up, you gotta thin them out. So what you're left with is Diddy. Okay, fine. Then we'll use Diddy for whatever. So New York becomes the dominant media hub. And coincidentally enough, it's the New York media where we have all of these pedophiles working in senior positions at the New York news networks and newspapers and magazines. Right? It's no coincidence that New York is at the moment the hub. Sometimes it's Los Angeles, sometimes it's Paris, sometimes it's London. What is Nexus? We've seen what Nexus 6 was capable of. Obama, Trump, me. What is Nexus 7 capable of? Number 2, okay, what were the baby boomers trying to do? They were trying to bring peace and love and harmony. Okay, then what were the Reagan kids? What were we trying to do? I mean, What's the national color of the Stones Unturned podcast? What color is our flag? But just because somebody's an anarchist doesn't mean that they are for chaos. Anarchy is what everything libertarianism thinks it is. No government, but you must learn to govern yourself. That's anarchy. That's the Pilgrims. The Pilgrims were anarchists. They didn't want to be governed by other people, so they learned to govern themselves. It's not for everyone. But God love them, they tried. So what's the new paradigm? So chaos is the situation where a revolution can now sprout, hopefully. And we know that the CIA and the FBI, the Communist Intelligence Agency, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, okay, we know what they thought of, and we've seen their second-rate attempts at chaos. You know, Manson, what did he really accomplish besides taking the rap for assassinating a couple of CIA daughters? What did he accomplish beyond that? Jack shit. But maybe he was just, they learned from a failed experiment and then they came up with Diddy. Diddy's mother was very attached and raised him, right? We have this whole, it's like they've kind of figured out, take this type and put him with this type mother and we'll use him for this job. They have several of them. Look how far Diddy got. Look how, and then now he's lived through his usefulness. Now he's being retired, the way Epstein was retired. There's somebody else who was recently retired. Who was it? Not Cosby. But creating chaos in every way possible. Not just through destructive manipulation, like knocking out the internet. Not just by flying balloons over the country and knocking out people's cell phone service and Wi-Fi service for a couple hours. Was that one of ours or one of theirs? And how did we tell the difference? How do we tell the difference? Then speaking of the Russian Revolution, speaking of all these other socialist revolutions, Italy, places like this, what triggers them? It's not the First World War. What triggers the global chaos and anarchy is the pandemic, the influenza pandemic. That, all pandemics, they don't have to kill 30% of the population. The psychological effect is the same. People's matrix is shattered. People's matrix is shattered. This imaginary government that's had this imaginary cocoon of safety and order around them, that illusion has been shattered by a pandemic. They experience it as a pandemic. There are a lot of new tombstones in your town. But the psychological impact of a pandemic, and a global pandemic, that creates some chaos. And it's like any other storm system or any other explosion in a fireworks factory. You can get some chain reactions going, hopefully. And really, you want total chaos and total anarchy. Then these super guerrillas that you've been training in your private prisons to be super terrorists, they can all be released on the same day and set loose on a population that's been fed a diet of bronies and whatchamacallums, and they'll be easy pickings. And then the only hope will be that China will have to come in and establish order, have to come in and save us from ourselves. But in the meantime, well, if that's what they're trying to do, then how far have they gotten? It looks like there's been some breaking up of this operation, and it kind of seems like the people who've been covering up for them the loudest are the ones who are going down, and part of the ones who are going down. So, I don't know. Who's winning? Is anybody winning? Is it all just the more chaos, the better? Because it wouldn't take much at this point. Wouldn't take much at all. Wouldn't take much at all. Probably starting already. Geographically, it's not just civil war looming over the horizon. It's the perfect type. The cities will be isolated geographically from the whole rest of the country. The cities will be swallowed by a blob of rednecks and MAGA hats. You can't live without us. We can live without you, but you can't live without us. And this is the type of civil war that an outside agency like the Chinese Communist Party might be looking, maybe we can take advantage of this. Not that one side or the other will win this civil war, but it will be America-stan, and then China will invade and fix our problems for us. Because they've already got a pretty extensive network of their own private. They have a shadow government here now. They really filled that vacuum when the KGB did wither away. The Chinese intelligence really did fill that vacuum. And they have totally taken over the triads, the Chinese gangs. They took them over completely. The CIA wishes they took over the mafia or the FBI the way the Chinese intelligence have taken over the triads, who own Disney, by the way. I mean, I'm not saying they created Trump in some test tube. What I'm saying is they'd love to count that chicken. I think I would too. Really, if I have to pick between these two, I'll take Daffy Duck over the Mummy any day. Five Supreme Court justices, maybe? And it's all Hillary's fault. It's all Hillary's fault. These laws that prosecute parents for not paying doctors to perform sexual experiments on their children, if you refuse that, you can be put in jail for that. You know who gave the state the authority to do that? The laws, the federal laws giving the states the authority to do that were written. You know, she was on the team writing those laws, was Hillary Rodham. When she worked for Congressperson, I'm thinking of her name. You remember? Edelman. Edelman? Marion Edelman? But I can never remember the names of people who perpetrate things I hate. To take this legal wedge of in loco parens and to say children have all these other rights and that the state has a compelling interest to provide a lawyer for the child, take him out of the home and get him sex change surgery or whatever science fiction procedure you want to perform. I'm not a doctor, but that legal authority, Marion Wright's, Edelman Wright, you know what I'm talking about. Always wears shirt. Marion Wright Edelman. Marion Wright Edelman. I'm 10,000% sure it's Marion Wright Edelman. I'm turning into Frank Costanza. I feel myself turning into Frank Costanza, and I love it. Where was I? I was ranting and raving about these Northern Lights. Coincidence? You hear these myths and these legends about when shit gets far enough out of hand, man, it starts raining fire and shit. And oceans flood over and, like, watch what you're doing, man. Like, and you, poo-poo. All I'm saying is, I didn't make the rules. I don't know. Drive on the left, drive on the right. Apparently, it's whatever. Make the sandwich, eat the sandwich. Apparently, there are some assigned roles we are expected to fill. No, I'm totally for equal rights, equal treatment, shit. But I couldn't help noticing the coincidence. That's all I'm saying. All these disasters that you victims are bitching about, and you talk about following the science. Well, according to whatever historical documents have survived, whenever human beings start to just go kukalabanza and anything goes, then it seems as though pretty soon, if you get a couple warning shots, and then after that, pow. You get the wax slapped out of your ears. That's all I'm saying. But what's that got to do with what's going on right now? The FBI admitted they've been using Russian disinfo props for years, and they made a big deal out of announcing that they fired these guys. Are they trying to create an illusion that they're a bunch of unemployed Russian disinfo props, and now they're going to go to work for the Trump administration or the Trump? Yeah, it's yeah. If I were you boys, I'd be installing the chocolate fountains and the diamond crystal chandeliers. I'd go ahead and just get started on that now. Behind every great man's a great woman. Without Hillary, Bill is still doing time in Arkansas. Without Ivanka? What's his current wife's name? Melania. Without Melania, he was just Charles Manson. Now, he's a former president of the United States. Speaking of Reagan kids, okay, we're the Repo Man generation. We were born with pop rocks in our hands. What were we born with? We were born with irony in our hands. We were born with rust in our hands. That's what we were born with. We were handed rust. We were handed rusty razor blades. That's what we were handed. Don't kid yourselves. When you watch movies from the 30s, it's this fantasy land of 2 turkey dinners and toys for the kids. You don't see movies about the Depression being made in the Depression. You see Fantasyland. You see Sugar Plum Land. You see the Big Rock Candy Mountains. Watch movies from the 80s. It's Big Rock Candy Mountains. The 80s are, watch movies made in the 80s. The 80s were, we were all Ferris Bueller. No. You ever see people fight over a 5-pound block of government cheese? It made good macaroni and cheese. It made good macaroni and cheese. It did. Hats off, Uncle Sucker. You make good macaroni and cheese. But not during the 80s. That's what not 80s were like. Watch Repo Man. Well, so that's it. Don't worry about any more premium live streams. It's not worth anybody's trouble. I'm going to just record the premium episodes and get them uploaded, ready to watch, tested and retested again. Then to YouTube like this, maybe a little better than this, and introduce the episode and blah, blah, blah. And I want to do more of this, where I can just go on and just let it all hang out. Did Al Bundy... Because the guy on Modern Family, he's like Al Bundy's successful twin, right? He's the guy who divorced Peg and married Sophia Viagra and had another family. And I can't watch that shaky camera shit. I can't watch reality TV. I can't. I don't watch much TV anyway. But if Al Bundy had a podcast, that's what you're going to be getting a lot of from now on. Who do you think Al's voting for this election? Who would Archie Bunker vote for? Who would Pa Walton vote for? Who would Pa Ingalls vote for? Who would Captain Kirk vote for? We know who Spock would vote for. Now, why do you think Spock is not... They gave him the keys once, fucked everything up, remember? Fucked everything up. Brought the Enterprise back in pieces. They sent him down the street to get a box of milk. He comes back with the Enterprise in pieces, and we're at war with 3 planets. Who would Captain Kirk vote for? Who would Batman vote for? Somebody from the 60s not like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, not one of those guys, come out and endorse Trump. It's just getting ridiculous. I was going to make a point about something. I'll make it some other time. Thanks for listening. Next time, I'll watch the chat. Today, I just told you what I really thought. Google this. Now I remember. Creepy Crawl. I'll go into more detail. But Creepy Crawl said something. I showed this thing. There's this conspiracy theory that Charles Manson was released from prison and they replaced him with a body double the last few years of his life. And if you look at the pictures, and Creepy Crawl left a comment on the website that said, well, you know Charles Manson caught fire that time, right? And I'm like, No. No, I did not know that Charles Manson caught fire. uh, just when you think you know a guy. But if you think about it, think about this. First, Lake Erie catches on fire, right? I thought I knew everything about Charles Manson, but I did not know he caught on fire. When I started this podcast, I thought I knew nothing about Charles Manson, and it turned out I knew a lot about Charles Manson. I just didn't know that I knew it about Charles Manson. But, 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 you know nothing about Charles Manson. It turns out he's the center of a Lifesaver's candy. He's not there, but he's in the middle of it. Every piece of Lifesavers, he's there in the middle of it. But he's not there. He's there. But he's not the last. He was just a prototype. And you're looking at a whole generation. They were Nexus 5. And there's still some around. Nexus 6 has hit their peak. You saw what they're capable of. How many other Nexus 6 are out there that haven't been retired yet, that are considered more successful, or haven't outlived their usefulness yet? 60 and over. Well, probably 50 and older. Whatever. Nexus 7 is just coming of age. Just to begin their sports careers. Bronny Jr. got how much money? I could beat Bronny Jr. in one-on-one. You're prepaid in reverse proportion to how much your job is actually worth to society. Think about that. The more worthless you are, the more money you get. Think about that. Then, so what does this have to do with Sandy hoax? I'll show you in the next premium episode. It won't be live, but I'll do a pregame. So no later than Sunday, and then I'll try to get on again like Thursday or Friday and just chat with you guys again. And this time I'll watch the chat. I'm not even watching the chat. I want to just start doing this. So don't worry about catching any more premium live streams. These will be, these won't always be scheduled. If you have more important things to do, then I'll try to schedule some. I was just catching up on the news, and I'm just noticing it isn't just that this is, I'm trying to figure out what Trump is, whose side he is or isn't on. It's almost like he's a millennial. You know, he's a very smart guy. He's pretty millennial. I think he appealed, well, I know he appeals to millennials. Oh my God, they love him. They love him. They loved Reagan. My favorite t-shirt was the one, it was Ronald Reagan with a mohawk. We all secretly, in the punk world, we all secretly loved Reagan. He was the punk president. He was the one who's always pissing in the face of these pissy journalists. And the public ate it up. We get tired of these sanctimonious sons of bitches. We do. We love to see him. We love to see somebody who can handle the Beatles. The Beatles could handle the press. Nixon couldn't handle the press. in all fairness, Mr. Nixon always had that little, it wasn't his strong suit. Mr. Kennedy, on the other hand, had the press eating out of the palm of his ass. Literally. Licking the peanuts out of his ass. They still do. Bill Clinton. So Trump is kind of like the bad boy and the Dennis the Menace, the Bart Simpson. Trump is Bart Simpson. Trump is Bart Simpson. Trump is Dennis the Menace. Brace yourselves. But you know what? It's like putting on an old familiar glove at a murder trial. Just putting on an old familiar glove. Y'all take care of yourselves, and please remember to spay and neuter your cannibals. I'm Professor Thomas Henry Horan. Good night, and God bless. I'm Professor Thomas Henry Horan, asking you to please stay plugged in to the Stones Unturned podcast.
He reads everything.